Okay, welcome everybody again to Selling RMR Services, the Essential Lessons for Sales Professionals and Managers. My name is Sharon Shaw. I'll be leading the discussion again today. For those of you who attended last week, I wanted to just reach out and say thank you for participating. And those of you who this is your first one doing this one today, want to welcome you. Again, just to touch base a little bit on the purpose of these webinars is to bring about a weekly communication task so that way we're all just staying in touch with this idea of managed services and remembering what solutions are out there for our customers to take advantage of and just having it fresh in our mind. We will be sharing some real stories of trial and error. In a couple of weeks, not next week, but in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a guest speaker who's going to share some of his sales experience and what's worked and what hasn't worked for him in working with his customer base. So you can hear sort of from your peers about, how that's going and what customers seem to be biting on the most and things like that. We'll also just be doing this to kind of establish a path of accountability and consistency and commitment to this new sales model. We'll be having a survey going out for you all as salespeople in the next couple of days that's going to ask some questions about, if you're hesitant to approach a customer with these services, why, and, which of these services do you feel are the most pertinent today, things like that, just to give us good information about where you stand in terms of, what you think matters and how maybe we can help you in that sales process. So taking these webinars to be more interactive and make it something where it's not just us pumping out information to you, but we're taking into consideration some of the information you've given back to us. And that will help us in general in our working relationship. So let's go ahead and get started. Today the message is about generating leads and transitioning leads into sales. So obviously, this is something that matters to all of us. Sales is what makes the world go round, right? So today we're going to just talk about those two different pieces of that process and how integrator support can help you and what we need to do to really get these sales generated and get the interest going and get you more experience in talking to end users about these different solutions. So the first point we're going to address is how to introduce your new managed services to your customers. There's really a few things that you need to keep in mind as you go about introducing these services. First of all, who are you talking to? It really is important that you go back to your existing customers and share this information with them. You would be surprised how many people that invested, even if recently, even if 6 months ago or 10 months ago you installed a new surveillance system or a new access control system for somebody, you'd be surprised how they might receive news about making that system work better or more useful or more valuable to their organization. So it's really, really important that you leverage your existing contacts. We have the tools to help you do it, but you need to keep an open mind. I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of salespeople that will jump, their boss says, hey, here's the hurdle, jump. And they'll jump as high as their boss tells them to jump, but if their heart's not in it, if your heart's not in it, if you can't see that these services really can benefit your customers, the whole jump how high thing won't work anymore. It's really got to be that you understand and believe in these solutions like we talked about last week. I know we didn't talk a lot about the individual services last week, but we kind of brushed the subject of you can't sell anything you don't believe in. You have to demonstrate a passion and you have to be able to communicate that you feel there's value in what you're offering. So again, you have to be confident and you have to be ready to go to your customers and share with them this new information. We'll talk about how here in just a second. The second bullet is prospects. So I don't know how you all keep your database. You know, some people have everybody they've ever talked to is all in this one database. Sometimes it's the salespeople have sort of their own contacts in their own Outlook account or their own, you know, black book or whatever you want to call it. And sometimes, you know, prospects are in a true, you know, CRM type system that you're following up on. Maybe you use Act or Salesforce.com or even WeSuite or something like that. So the key thing is you have to get your database ready, right? Regardless of how you've done it. We need to have a list of people that we're going to be going to. And the last thing is your pipeline. So this is really important. I think a lot of people feel like they need to add new customers for these services, or that there's nothing, you know, that they're working on today that might need these services. And I'll tell you that that's not true. I don't know exactly what projects you currently have in your pipeline, but what I do know is that in a lot of cases, our dealers that have really committed to this were able to take something that they were working on as a traditional kind of project. You know, this customer asked for a surveillance system. That's what we're quoting them. Well, did you tell them that we can monitor it? Did you tell them that we can do this and do that? No, they didn't ask for that. You know, well, okay, they didn't ask for it, but you need to propose it. So it's going to be important, too, that regardless of where people sit, whether they're existing customers or just clients or contacts that you have, prospects that you've been kind of working for a while, or people that are already asking for information. Maybe it's even a bid situation. We've had a couple dealers win bid situations with very competitive proposals on the table, and by offering these solutions, they were able to differentiate themselves and win those contracts. So you might be surprised. A lot of times bids, you know, feel really rigid, and it's like all these guys want is exactly what's listed here and nothing more, nothing less. And everything's about each line item and exactly how much we're charging for each little widget. I'll tell you that, you know, that's certainly certain verticals and things like that, that's true. But you might be surprised to see how many customers are really just after the right solution. So getting to the how do we do it, how do we introduce the services. We have a variety of different announcement formats that you can utilize, and we'll put all of your logo and information into it. And basically, either it's an email blast accompanied by like by a letter of some sort, or it could be you know, a combination of the two. What I've seen a lot of people do is sort of hit it with multiple angles. So do an email announcement first while the letter is in the mail, and then launch a webinar opportunity for your customers to learn about these new services and how they can benefit from them. As we talk a little bit about the webinar program, it's something we can help you with. We do this all the time, and we're happy to create a PowerPoint on your, you know, your template, your logo, and everything, and just develop a presentation that can be used as an educational forum for your customers. So the idea with your announcement is to say, hey, there's something new. There's something you need to know about. It's our responsibility as your preferred systems integrator to educate and inform you when something comes to the marketplace that works, that's proven, and that can benefit you and keep you more safe and secure. As long as our intentions are always about the customer's value of the system that you're selling or the service that you're selling, it will work. And so what we've done for other dealers is an email announcement just saying, you know, the new versus the old. You know, the old way you have a guy staring at a matrix of monitors. Maybe he's sleeping, maybe he's not. And then you've got the new way, which is event-driven monitoring, and it's a focused, dedicated monitoring center, you know, that's totally audited and all of that, and just showing them how this is different from the old way. So what I'd like to do with each of you when you're ready is look at some of these templates, decide which one you want to go with, start getting your branding on it, and push out these emails and letters and get the word out to your customers that there is something new that they need to know about. And here's the important thing to remember as well. If you don't do that, if you don't take the time to educate and inform your existing customers about these new solutions, someone else will beat you to it. And what that will do is you will look like you don't have the information, like you're not up to date, and you might lose those relationships as a result of not having that conversation. So it's critical that, in general, to keep your customers, you continue to pump out this kind of information that's valuable to them. Point number 2 is to identify the solutions that you can offer. So what does that mean? I was on a call recently with a gal, Courtney Govro from All Systems Solutions out of Kansas City. And we were talking about, the types of customers that we've brought on so far and, what kinds of markets are, best suited for these services. And she told me, she's like, Sharon, you really need to break it down for your dealers, very specifically about what problems you solve and who has those problems so they can connect the dots. So that's what we're going to do here in this part today. Here are the solutions. And we'll do more and more training on the individual services themselves so you really understand how they work. But in general, the big bullets are the services we provide, and the ones underneath are the problems that we can address with those services. So event-driven monitoring is very commonly used in cases where trespassing or theft has been an issue, vandalism or loitering. Any of those things can be solved through event-driven video monitoring. And the key there is the response. So sometimes the response is voice down announcements saying, hey, you in the purple shirt with spray paint, you need to leave. You're not allowed to, be here. No loitering allowed. Or in some cases, it's just dispatch police. So we have different options depending on how they want to address those concerns. So we're flexible in how we provide these services. However, there are some best practices or commonalities that we can show you as we get started. Going from left down and then over to the right side, the next one is virtual tours. So when you think about a tour, think about what would a guard do. Okay, if I was a physical guard on site and I'm doing my rounds, what am I looking for? What am I trying to find? Is it just my presence in general that's important? And if that's the case, we can do voice down announcements with every tour and let people know that this is a monitoring center. You're being monitored for your safety and security. We're conducting a virtual tour, something like that. If they're looking for compliance-like things, sometimes hospitals and other large-scale campuses are non-smoking in nature, which means anybody smoking on the premise, needs to stop. So it might be that, we use the tours to look for things that are a little more subtle. In general, the rule is that tours can give us visibility and give us a way to monitor a premises when things like analytics or other alarm sensors really wouldn't matter. If you have a situation where people are, hanging out and crowding and blocking a sidewalk or something like that, that's not something that, you need video analytics for necessarily. That's not something that, can necessarily be solved with those things. It's more just a consistent, look at that area and having somebody respond when they see it. So that's what tours are for. Managed access control is basically, taking the database management and doing it on behalf of your customer. So offering your customers managed access control gives them a professional to handle the management so they know it's being done right. We can monitor access control systems. A lot of cases, the bells and whistles we sell with access control systems are not always taken advantage of. Sometimes they don't utilize all the feature sets that are available to them, and unfortunately, that really kind of, makes the value of the system seem less and less. So by monitoring for door forced and door propped open type alarms, you can bring back that value of their access control system. In general policy enforcement, you misplaced your card. We need to have a policy where when you lose it, this is exactly what you do to report it lost, to get your new one issued, not just borrow your friends, not just tailgate behind somebody else. Those are the kinds of things that managed access can help with. Virtual doorman, we can make sure that all of the people entering the facility are verified through identification, through passcodes, through names, and perhaps even headshots we can compare. Also, the fact that we can manage the gate and the door remotely, so we can actually open those doors and gates for them from the monitoring center. And also providing assistance for visitors. So maybe you have a high-rise or something like that, and somebody comes after hours and they need assistance. Having that intercom where people can get the help they need or ask questions about, when the building is supposed to be open again, or, whatever they might need, assistance for visitors. Virtual chaperones, I see, I'd say about 10% of the time this is part of the proposal, so it's not all that common. However, delivery and pickup, it helps ensure the safety of any drivers that are, picking up or dropping off any valuable materials, or assisting staff as they exit late at night. It can make them feel safer, more secure, and ensure that they get to their vehicle safely, and if they don't, having help there right away. The solutions hosted video provide is a simple interface for video surveillance, really nice mobility so they can access video from anywhere, anytime. And you can do that with or without an on-site storage appliance. So I think there's kind of a misperception of what hosted video is and what value it brings. It's the application. It's basically, instead of buying, VMS software and things like that, you can still have megapixel video and have all that data stored on site with a local drive, but you access the video both live and recorded through an online interface. So that's what hosted video can do. So now, what's the next thing? And now that we kind of understand the solutions these services can offer, how do we target our market and our marketing and sales efforts? So now what I've done is I've taken the same services and I've listed the types of customers that we see adapting or adopting these new services, if you will. Event monitoring, a lot of outdoor stuff. What you guys will find is that there's really two kinds of customers in our industry. There's one where you have, maybe they have some beams where they've had some kind of security, before, but it hasn't really been all that effective, or maybe they're getting a lot of false alarms, or maybe they haven't had any security at all, but they're getting ripped off. I was really surprised the market that we've seen in roofing supplies. Apparently, I don't know if it's desperate contractors that need their hands on the materials for free, if it's individual consumer types, but we have three customers with multiple sites. Each of them have multiple sites, multiple locations, and they're constantly getting broken into and people trying to steal stuff from them. So fortunately, we've been able to prevent quite a bit of that. So you're looking at the customers that, they haven't had much security, but by investing a little bit, they can reduce the issues, the number of incidents and the severity of those incidents. The other side is customers that have a guard, or a service or a security staff of their own, and they might be looking to save money. So in either case, your ROI is reduced number of incidents, reduced losses, which makes it worth the investment, or it's that you're saving overhead, you're saving costs, and having a more effective layer of security, and that's the ROI. So depending on what kind of customer you're talking to, you know, you either want to play that savings or you want to play that risk mitigation side of things. But in general, you know, I'm not going to read all these to you, but I'll explain just a few that make sense. So event monitoring, you know, anytime there's an exception, anytime somebody's where they're not supposed to be when they're not supposed to be there, would trigger an event. Virtual tours, we talked a little bit about how those are done. We see a lot of campuses, places that have had a guard in the past, and they're looking at, you know, reducing costs or having something that's more verifiable. So, you know, any kind of, you know, areas where you would commonly see a guard. So maybe shopping centers or malls, maybe different corridors within a facility that were constantly being, you know, patrolled. You know, those are the kinds of things that you might be looking for there. And again, the value or the solution, you know, are keeping a constant pulse on these areas and knowing what's going on and having that presence so that way people that are there know they're being watched. Property managers love managed access control, I'll tell you right now. They have to bear so much of the burden when they have multiple tenants in one building and each tenant has so many staff members and they, you know, somebody lost their card, somebody got fired. I'll share a quick story. I was working at the front desk of one of the places I used to work, and I was notified that the CFO had been let go. And of course, it's what, 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. So they say you need to make sure that all of their access credentials get deactivated because they didn't have them all with them, and we don't want to risk this person, you know, coming back and, you know, doing something, you know, to the records or whatever it might be. So I contact the property manager and I say, hey, you know, we need to have this card deactivated. Do you know I've been working since 6 in the morning. I left there 2 hours ago. I'm on my way to a family reunion on a Friday afternoon, and you want me to circle back, come back there, just to come and turn off an access card. You know, he was so mad. And, you know, I politely reminded him that, you know, we're the tenant, we're the customer, and if you'd like, I can call someone at your corporate office and tell them you're unwilling to do this and see if they can find somebody else. And, of course, what did he do? He turned around and he dealt with it. But it wasn't fun for anybody. And so the beauty of managed access control is it takes that headache off the property manager's back. It allows their customers, their tenants, to even communicate directly with you, with us. We can assist in the management, or you can do all the management on your own. But we have the hosted platform for you to use, and we have people that are trained on that platform that can allow us to assist you either nights and weekends or whatever it might be with that. Virtual doorman, we see a lot of places like high-rise residential buildings, commercial buildings with a lot of seats, you know, facilities where there's, you know, a large number of people that might be visiting and things like that, that may have had a physical doorman in the past. And now that virtual doorman is a way to save money on that physical doorman and still have a fully documented and auditable list of the comings and goings of different people. Virtual chaperones, you know, we see that a lot more in the delivery terminals area. However, places like hospitals or, you know, facilities where you might have nurses or women leaving late at night, those ladies really appreciate the value of this and knowing that, you know, they can walk safely to their car and just knowing that somebody's watching over them if they, you know, are in kind of a rough area. That's always peace of mind. And then hosted video. You know, there's a lot of people that are kind of on the fence with hosted video. I mean, whether or not it makes sense and things like that. But I'll tell you that customers will buy what you sell them. Okay, I think we talked a little bit about that last week. But what you sell to them and effectively communicate the value and all of that, people will buy. So, you know, retail customers want the location, but probably not a senior IT person, not really the kind of facility that would want to have a separate NVR and you know, everything there on site that has to be maintained. Unmanned facilities. We just landed a pipeline project a couple of weeks ago with about 6 or 7 sites, and you know, there's nobody there. They want to just have cameras there, their maintenance people, and anybody else that needs to kind of see what's going on along the pipeline can just glance at a screen and see what's going on. So they really love the idea of the hosting option. So these are some of the targets. So the key is, what we'll have to do together is look at, you know, which of the services are you ready to offer, and which of these types of customers, you know, do you work with the most, or who is your clientele? And we can figure out, you know, how to package solutions based on who you're targeting and help you simplify that process. So the last point is how to communicate with these customers. You know, how do we tell these targets about these solutions? And it's called our 411 program. Our 411 program consists of 4 email blasts per month, so 1 a week, 1 newsletter per month, and 1 webinar per month. All of these things we can provide for you. It doesn't cost you anything. The purpose is to generate leads for everybody, and a lead for you is a lead for me. So what we'll do is work together to develop, you know, again, our market strategy, who are we targeting, and based on what we're targeting, having just simple email blasts that communicate a straightforward point and get that point across clearly, and so that your customers can see and recognize the value in what you're offering, and keeping you in front of them. The newsletter might be something a little bit more, you know, just reader-friendly, you know, something about, you know, an incident that happened across town, or something that, you know, just shares some, you know, even recipes. You know, mortgage people and real estate people are really good at putting together little newsletters that are just fun to read, but it keeps you in front of them. And lastly is a webinar, 1 webinar per month. You might say, wow, you know, asking my customers to attend a webinar every month is a lot. Not every customer is going to attend every webinar. But the point is, what happens is you position yourself as a subject matter expert, you show them what's going on, things that they need to be aware of, and you're basically educating them. And you're doing that for free. They don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to pay any money. You're giving them this advantage of knowing what's going on in security. And when you do that, there's a couple things that happen. First of all, people will register for the webinar, and you're going to get a list of everyone who's registered, so you know who is interested in hearing what you have to say. Then you host the webinar, you say what you have to say, and you'll find out who attended, who paid attention, all of that kind of stuff. And you can follow up accordingly. The people that attended the webinar, that had questions afterwards, you know, those will be your hot leads. The people that registered for the webinar but maybe couldn't make it for whatever reason, you follow up, and we can do the presentation for them one-on-one when it's more convenient. And what it does, though, is it takes, instead of a big list of contacts that you send information to, and maybe you hear back and maybe you don't, it gives us some valuable metrics and some really highlighted names, basically, of who to go after. So the 411 program is something you can start as early as February. You can get your first email blast going right away. Introduce this as, you know, new in 2013. ABC Security is now offering this, this, and this. It's important you know about it because it can change this for you. It can make you better this way. It can make you more efficient. It can save you money. And just by hitting on those hot points and reminding them how to benefit, you will get leads. It's working for our other dealers. They're getting leads off these systems, these programs, and it's turning into sales. One of my dealers, and I know we just ran over a couple minutes so far, but we'll be done in just a minute. But one of my dealers was working really hard on an account, on a prospect, trying to win their business. And it's a teleco that everybody would love to have their business, right? And we did a webinar. And basically, after the webinar, we had 40 end users attend. And by the end of the presentation, which was about 30 minutes, they had 4 emails coming in asking for more information and how to get going. So they had 4 leads right off the bat. But one of those 4 happened to be that prospect that they were working on for a long time, like I think 18 months they were buying for their business. So finally, they get in the door, and it was these services that showed them that I do want to work with that integrator. This actually does help me. And it's not just who can install the widget I want the best or for the cheapest. It was who can keep me safer and more secure. And they won that battle. So I just wanted to share that little story with you guys. But that really concludes our presentation today. So it's early in the week. I encourage you all to look at your list of databases and how can we compile them into a list of targets, and maybe identifying sort of verticals that they fall under so we can package solutions for them. And then also looking at the, the process of communicating. So if you have something you're already working on in your pipeline, what do you use to educate them now as you're developing your proposal on these new solutions so you can incorporate it and show them how to benefit from it. I'm here. I have brochures for you all to use. I can be there to answer questions, whether with your customer or just between us. So please take advantage of this program that we have to offer. I'll be, again, sending out that survey that will help me better understand where you all are in the process of selling these services so we can better support you. So thank you all again for your time today. Hope you had a wonderful Monday yesterday, and look forward to a good week. And we will see you all, talk to you all again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.